The gambling part, $40 million over a 4-year period. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's reporting from the book. And everyone's always known that Phil's a gambler. Like it's been part of his brand. And when he's won, like when he cashed that Super Bowl ticket on the Ravens and made over $500,000, he loves to crow about it. But you also know there's been some heavy losses because it showed up in court documents, in press clippings, and he's been linked to some shady characters through the years.
But is this
And
casino gambling, Alan, or betting on games?
mostly sports betting, but he does love baccarat and in the casinos, and he will go to the casino sports books. But it seems that it's mostly just making bets through, bookies. And there was a whole controversy the month after the PGA Championship last year where Phil was linked to this mobbed up bookie in Detroit that bilked him out of $500,000, and Phil took umbrage to the Detroit newspaper bringing this to light and threatened never to play in that tournament again. And so there's always been this low roar about Phil's gambling, but we didn't really know the numbers. And as part of this Billy Walters insider trading case, he was subject to this forensic audit.
Explain Billy Walters to the audience who's not
Oh
familiar.
yeah. Billy
If
Walters
you can explain Billy Walters.
yeah,
here.
yeah. I mean, that could be a long conversation. Billy Walters is this famous gambler, and in the 1980s, he was really the first guy to apply computer analysis to sports betting, and he started making money hand over fist. And he's also a legendary poker player. He's the kind of guy who'll walk into a casino and spend 36 hours playing roulette and walk out with $3 million, which he famously did years ago. And he just has an incredible mind for gambling. And because of all his activities, he's been subject to various indictments. He'd always beat the rap, which made him a folk hero in Las Vegas. And he also loves golf. He's played in PGA Tour Pro-Ams. He won the Crosby Clambake Pro-Am portion back in 2008. So he loves golf. He loves gambling. It was almost inevitable that him and Phil would cross paths, and they became friends. Billy became a mentor, and they became betting partners. And there's been a lot of confusion about the role between Phil and Billy, but Billy was not Phil's bookie. They were partners, and it was advantageous for both of them because Phil suddenly had access to the best mind in sports betting. And now Billy had access to the people that Phil would bet through, because Billy was often getting cut off from his own people because he was too good. And Phil was not too good. And over time, Phil would want to bet certain things that Billy thought were losers, but Billy would place the bet because he knew they were going to lose, and it would keep him in good graces with the bookies. And sometimes he'd front that money, and Phil ran up a tab essentially that ran into millions of dollars with Billy that he owed him. And so now Billy Walters also loved to play the stock market, as did Phil. Billy came into some information from involving Dean's Foods, just this random stock, but they were about to have a spinoff and the price was going to spike. Billy made a big bet on this, and so did Phil. And the question has always been, what exactly did Billy tell Phil? And did Phil know that this information was tainted because it came from an insider at the company? And this exploded into a big SEC investigation. And Billy Walters wound up going down the river. He got jail time. He was convicted on all the charges. And Phil skated because of some very complex wrinkles in the law that I go into the book. I won't bore your listeners with now, but Phil was not charged, but he was named as a relief defendant, which means he benefited from this bad information. They couldn't prove he knew that it was bad, but he had to give them the money back. And ill-gotten gains is my new favorite term. So he had to give back over $1 million to the government. And Billy has never forgiven Phil because he feels like if Phil Mickelson had testified on his behalf, that would have helped Billy Walters, and he may not have gone to jail. That's subject to debate. But in Billy's mind, Phil sold him out, and so now Billy Walters is writing this his own book that's going to come out at the end of this year, early next year. Whereas my intention was to write a very fair and balanced look at Phil Mickelson, Billy Walters is not a trained journalist. He doesn't care about that. Like, he's got a vendetta, and he's out to get a scalp. And so Phil is rightfully worried about what Billy is going to put in his book, because Billy knows a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I was told, somebody who knows Billy, this is going to be a flamethrower. Like, he's coming after Phil. I don't know if it's called this or there's a chapter. It's called Now It's My Turn. And
Yeah.
I think he's coming after Phil.